Yeah, let's begin. So I like to start, as you know, by acknowledging the moment and acknowledging one another in the space. So just take stock or clock of your physical environment and just note the moments that have brought you here. It's like, okay, I don't think I've seen your face in a long time, or at least in this view. So I'm happy to see you. Of course, happy to see what else is noticing. Yeah. Okay. And just be mindful of how you are, how the body is doing, check in. Take a moment to pause. This is our last dialogue, our last, well, we are doing a debriefing, but there will be a bit of a process as well. So just allowing the moment to settle, as we settle, and then begin to send your attention or awareness to everyone else on the screen when you're ready. I also encourage you to show your faces if you can, but yeah, it's no train smash. So today, for the duration of today, actually, Ruby's going to be holding us quite a bit for the hour and a half that we're together. But before I hand over to her, I just wanted to acknowledge the moment that happened last week. And yeah, I think the space was activated. I know I got excited, and we as facilitators were very grateful actually that that moment happened, because the purpose of these dialogues is to create some kind of urgency and to cultivate courageous people, courageous dialoguers. And one of the moments, not the moments, but what you showed last week was courage enough to speak and express a frustration around just dialoguing. That said, dialoguing, I think who was it? I'm forgetting. I think it was Tabani, who felt that it was no action, but then, we're also playing around with the idea of whether dialoguing is actually action or no action. And yeah, I don't want to waffle, but we actually just wanted to acknowledge that that moment actually made the whole process worth it. It made this whole Ubuntu dialogue moment worth it, because it means that you're taking ownership of the space, and that is very important for us. I don't know if anyone wants to say a few things, one or two things before I hand it to Ruby. Otherwise, we're literally just gonna move on, and Ruby will take over after me.
My friend Lily is nodding, so she's kind of telling me, yeah, go on, Ruby. Thank you, Lily. That is so encouraging. It is amazing what we can do with just looking at each other and nodding. But I still want to take a moment to see whether anybody has any reflection from the past week as you encountered people, as you went through Thanksgiving, for some people, whether you had some challenging conversations, whether you met people that you rather not speak to, but they showed up at the house. And that's mainly for the US team. And for the rest of us who are not in the US, whether some of the thoughts from this meeting is beginning to challenge you, or have you had any conversation that you found a little disturbing, or anything else that's crossed your mind that you thought maybe you'll share with us?
Typically my dad and I butt heads. My Thanksgiving was a little bit smaller, but sometimes when he disagrees with you, he'll say no in the middle of you speaking. And I say, that's not exactly how we should communicate. Or if something frustrates him, he says it's best to set it aside and let it simmer down and move on. But I said, to resolve issues, we have to talk about them and, smash them down, squish them at that moment so that we can move forward in peace and not have that in the back of our minds. So I think it was more so about the technique of conversation and not a difficult topic of conversation, just kind of redirecting him to better understand him.
Did you say that to him? Did you say, Dad, we're going to talk about this?
Maybe not. Maybe it wasn't such a a settled place of entering, but it was a
Yeah.
bit more abrupt.
But great, you had that at the back of your mind that, you know, we have to find a way to talk about this. Awesome. Kirsten?
I think something that I've realized during the course of the dialogues is that I do a lot of talking and I do a lot of conceptualizing and theoretical work, but I don't take a lot of action. And like Tabani said, like we talk a lot. And it's something that I think I like having grand ideas, but I don't like putting them into action. So that's something that I've realized that I do. I think during these dialogues, it's become really prominent.
I can say you're in good company today, because that's exactly what anybody I work with knows that. And I'm like, I'm not going to do the talk unless I know there's some action going to follow. And that's why you're saddled with me today. So come on a ride, fasten your seatbelt. Anybody has any thoughts from the weekend? Like, does somebody annoy you? Or you are such a saint that nobody annoys you? I like to be like you all when I grow up. Pearl?
Yes, hi. What happened to me this week? Not necessarily this weekend, like during the week, I had a intriguing conversation which made me realize that I'm probably also at fault when it comes to showing a little bit of winterness in every single thing that we do every single day. I had a conversation that was really mind-blowing for me with a good friend who was expressing challenges in the workplace. It's a very racial, stereotypical work environment. And this friend of mine seems like she's built like a safety net for her space and the work environment, but then everybody else around her are struggling. So while we're having this conversation, it was like coming to realize that it's not that we don't see an opportunity to show a little bit of Ubuntu, but there's times wherein we cautiously choose not to. Like we choose not to be the sacrifice. It's like, how much of myself am I gonna lose if I help this person or if I put this person first? I think sometimes we cautiously do that. And I think for me, it was like a mind shift when I realized that I also do the same thing. I also have my own biasness sometimes where I choose to warm myself out. And it also resonated while I was going through a website called Chimurenga Chronic. It's like a newspaper thingy. It's like, I think it's Pan-African or it's based in Lagos or something. Yeah, there was a statement there that said, everybody who can is building a wall. And that kind of really, really resonated with me, that is true. Like those who can actually are building walls in the sense that you're not really willing to be completely selfless and to be self-sacrificial, as what Caesar mentioned, that Ubuntu takes a lot of sacrifice. So it's like, how much am I willing to sacrifice myself for somebody else? Or is there like a line that I've drawn? So yeah, that's a conversation that I had that was really interesting, that these lines, sometimes we do them knowingly, that I'm not gonna cross that line. I am okay with my bread and butter and I'm gonna just stick with it. I know you also fighting, but I fought my battle to get the bread and butter that I have, and I'm not willing to lose that for your sake. So yeah, that's something that really resonated with me this week. So yeah, it's just been going through my head. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing. Could you put that website in the chat as well? You mentioned it, we put it there as well. But yeah, thanks for convicting all of us, because I know I did a little bit of that. I'm taking my stand kind of thing. And you wouldn't even believe what it was about. So my husband and I thought we need a TV because we're becoming too academic. So we need a TV, and went to buy a TV. We went to look at the TV. And I know Kirsten is sitting back because she's heard, this is the second time she's hearing a story from me. So she knows I'm full of stories. So I know. So I entered there and I already took a stance that there is no way I'm getting one of those men's TV that is like 55, 65 inch in my house. No, I'm going to keep my house dainty and cute. And as soon as my husband started, I'm like, ain't no 65 inch coming into my home. And I'm standing there and Then I remembered, who am I? I'm a peace activist, peace researcher, I'm a negotiator, I'm a mediator. you've got to move forward. You've got to move forward. So I'm like, what is it that I can give so he can come in? And I said to him, I'm like, you know what? Look at that 50 inch over there. It's kind of nice. If we can just buy the one with the frame, I'm happy to move forward. But you need to come back from your 65. And he was now taking his stance and saying 65 is what it's going to be. And then I said, well, I just moved. And if you're not prepared to move, I'm going to move back. But all this while I'm remembering that to be in this dialogue is to be willing to see beyond your narrow scope. And so, long story short, we both moved. And I think it was that moment when we both realized that we need, first of all, we need to go home and eat. We were hungry. But second of all, it was so important for us to remember what we've been trained to do, or what our lives and our cultures are, which is you do this for others as well. And in the end, we had a really good decision around it because we recognized this wasn't about us. And it is that recognition of this is not just about you that I want us to explore today. And thank you all for sharing, because I know the other stories will come up today. And I totally encourage you to get it off your chest in this hour and some that we have. The realization that this is not about you is what pushes us into dialogue. Because otherwise we can stick with ourselves. And I say to people, the first person I talk to, who can guess who that person is? The first person I talk to. Anybody? Just put your microphone and shout it. The first person I talk to is who?
Yourself?
Your husband?
Well, he will be lucky, no. Another try?
Well, I'm just gonna go with my guess. For me, first person I talk to is God in the morning.
Good. That's true, yeah. First human person, I should say. Sikolele, you're smiling, yeah? It's God, right? Okay, what about the human? Who would that be?
It's God first. It's God first.
It's God first. And then when we come to our human planes, who might that be?
Your husband.
Me.
Self.
Self. I talk to self. I go like, hello, self. You watching what you're doing? Do you realize you're causing chaos? Do you realize time is running out in this session? You need to move on. I talk to self. But there's only so much you can do with self alone. And so you need to kind of cross a little bit to interact with others. And we interact with others so that we can move a little further than what we can do by ourselves. And so for us in this kind of dialogue, the first realization is that it is not just about us. And so the last couple of weeks, we've heard these ideas, which is beginning to simmer. And like Direko said, I probably won't be this energized if I didn't get a sense of hunger from you all last week when we're finishing, of wanting to go forward. Because I said to myself, I don't waste time with people who are not ready to move forward. There's some people who just want to sit on the couch and eat popcorn and talk. I don't really have a whole lot of time. With all due respect, I don't have a whole lot of time for that. But I have the patience to lead people to think through things, and then they get to the point where they want to do a little more. I think today we want to do a little more. And I'm gonna encourage us now to do a different kind of group work. And a group work which I call from talk to action. From talk to action. And you're going to go into groups. I think it might just be 2 groups if Mariki or Upenyu can advise based on the numbers. But you're going to go into a group, and it's most likely going to be a country group. And in that group, you're going to do just 2 things. And I'm going to tell you about it in a moment. But for now, I want each of us, now start with the self, each of us to think about an issue, a problem that you would like to see addressed, or that you would like to address. You probably don't have the means to address it, but think of a problem that you think is a problem, is an issue. It's troubling. It's difficult, it's irritating, it's debilitating, it's all of those words put together. Think of it, don't tell me, just think of it. But when you have thought of that one thing, could you put a sign up on your screen so I know you've got it? And if you have a question, put your microphone on and just ask it. But just think of an issue, a problem in your community, in your home, in your church, in your mosque, anywhere. And just think of one thing. And if you have, pop something up on your screen, like a hand or a hooray or a love or something. Thank you, Jewel. Thank you, Kirsten. Thanks, Jakala. Thanks, Lily. Hey, Delicia. Pearl, I see you. Taylor, I see you. Thank you. Jakala raised her hand. Did you have a question? No. Okay. You're giving me double shout out. Thank you. So just think of an issue, a problem in your society, in your community, something that you think is a problem. Or in your school. Thank you, Samira. Something in your school or wherever it may be, on the streets. And now we are going to go into a group work. And in the group work, share your problem with your team members. But you all decide on one issue to work on, just one issue. So take your issue, go into a group and decide on one issue to tackle, which means you all need to put your heads together and agree on which one to tackle. And within the next, I think we will have 25 minutes. Let us know how you tackled that issue. Make a plan, talk about the issue, make a plan on how you're going to deal with it, come up with some ideas. Just take this seriously. Take this issue as something you have to solve, something that lives depend on.